Hi, I'm Shannon Combs-Bennett, Creative Director with the In-Depth Genealogist. Joining me this afternoon are Jennifer Alford, our publisher. Behind the camera is Terry O'Connell, Executive Director. And then we have guests today, Valerie Eckler-Lair from valsroots.com and a good friend of IDG, Kim Jordan. Welcome, ladies. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having us. It's great to be here.
We're very happy to be here today.
We are happy to have you. Thank you so much for coming. So for those of you at home, you can see we are in beautiful Salt Lake City. We're all here attending Roots Tech FGS and having an absolutely great time so far. This week's episode of Genealogy Roadshow took us to Union Station. As always, this is your spoiler alert. Don't proceed unless you want to know more about the episode. You have been warned. So, once again, I am curious. Has anybody been to Union Station in St. Louis?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I have relatives there, and they drag me all over the place, but I don't think I've been to Union Station.
How about you, Valerie? Have you been there?
Yes, I have.
Oh, we found somebody.
Yes, I have. So it was fun to see where I've actually been in person. And I've been to the city library doing on-site research, and then also at the archives where there's land records that are right there, marriage records, so forth. Unfortunately, the library where the Genealogy Roadshow was previous to this episode, that was closed for renovation when I was there.
Oh.
So, but I'm going back.
How about you, Kim? Have you been to the St. Louis or Union Station? Or
I
anything?
have not been to St. Louis. That is not where my relatives are.
Well, maybe we can find you someone to go with, and you can come to NGS and stuff.
There you go.
There you go. Okay, so this week we once again have a packed show, and we want to get moving on our impressions from Genealogy Roadshow this week. But at the end, make sure you watch because we are going to give you a glimpse of the Roots Tech experience, so stay tuned. Now, for those of you who watched the episode this week, and for us it was a very late evening in the hotel room watching it around our laptop, there were a lot of interesting stories, and I think we're just going to get started and really start talking about the ones that really, really spoke to us. And one of those was the interesting way they talked about the Donner Party connection. And for those of you who didn't see the show, or did see the show, it was two sisters who came in and wanted to see if it was, let me get this right, it was their grandmother, right? Who was the story that their grandmother, who was Native American, was a descendant of the Graves family from William Graves, who was a surviving member of the Donner Party. And I thought it was interesting because they used the censuses and the census rolls for Native Americans and Indians to show and try to find the surnames. Anybody else have any interesting thoughts on that? Jennifer, did you? I know I'm going to pick on her
Put me
first.
on the spot. No.
No? How about Kim?
One of the things that Josh pointed out at the show was that they found records in a regular census of Indians,
Yes.
which was highly unusual and rare, and that was one of the clues that helped them solve this
Right.
mystery.
And that was the 1880 general census that he talked about. And they actually put I for Indian in the general population. And it didn't actually start happening until 1920. Is that right? Is that what he said? I think he says the 1920 census before they started enumerating. Maybe I'm wrong. For some reason I have 1920
It was
stuck
in the
my head.
1900s sometime. Yes.
Okay. And of course, I just found it fascinating because they used the fan approach. You know, the one family
Right.
above was the Graves family. And they could, through paper genealogy, make a speculation. And of course, they did DNA testing. So that made my little heart pitter-pat. And does anybody want to say what happened on the DNA comparison?
No.
We know you do.
Kim? Oh,
we
I
know
do?
you do.
Okay.
Go ahead.
DNA made it with family match.
Really?
So they tested descendants of the Donner Party survivor, and they matched the descendants. So it was confirmed through DNA where paper genealogy didn't work. I shouldn't say didn't work.
That you needed
paper
the
trail
DNA.
The
to
paper
ended.
trail ended. You can make a speculation. That's right, Kim. Thank you for pointing that out. So yeah, that I thought was a very interesting way because they show what I like to show about DNA, which is it's another tool. It's not the end all be all, but you can make a lot of good assumptions and then prove it or use it to take it to the next step. It's like another record set.
Right. Well, it's like I tell everybody, there are so many research tools. Just like all the books here at the library, you would not look at those. You would, you definitely will. Just like the microfilms, courthouses, cemeteries. You know, DNA is one of the tools that should be used. One of the sources. And I agree, it's not the end all by all means, but it sure is wonderful.
It sure is.
It sure is wonderful.
Definitely not a silver bullet, but
Right.
clearly a tool in
Clearly.
the toolbox that
Right.
you should make use of.
Right.
Now, there was a second DNA episode last night, and it was on the. It all had us giggling in the hotel room because the gentleman in question, he said basically that he didn't think anybody who was an American was, 100% of one race. He said, everybody's mixed, right?
Yeah.
Everybody has something in them. Nobody's 100% European, which everybody in the room went, and I'm like, man, he should meet my husband. It says 99% British Isles. But I kind of felt bad for him when it came back that he was he was all European.
Yeah.
He I'm not sure he knew what to think. You
Yeah, I mean, I kind of got the impression from him that he really wanted to show up as, all these different races and so forth. And so, I felt a little bad for him, that he wasn't able to make that connection. But at least his son will.
Yeah. What about you, Kim? Do you have anything to?
Well, I found it interesting that he went in there as a person who looked white, married to a person who looked black, and his desire out of that was, I want there to be some kind of African ancestry, and that was what he had gone in to ask about was,
Right.
was this ancestor of mine a black man, and is that in my ancestry? And for his DNA to come back completely European, completely changed his idea of what he thought he was.
Yeah, who he was. It changed
Yeah.
his fabric almost of
Right.
what he believed. Right.
And it's interesting how DNA results can do that.
Oh,
when they
yeah.
come back, I mean, you have to keep in mind that the DNA that you have is not all of your ancestors' DNA. It's only the pieces you inherited. So there could be other pieces, but the fact that came back and he's like, I'm all European, that's it. I mean, he was in shock and was trying to process that because he was so expecting that he
Right.
was going to have some African
Right.
mix.
But we should point out that he didn't walk away empty-handed because they did give him a big surprise. Because how many people can come in and through a gateway ancestor, because his surname is Remy, can then be linked to a saint who was born in 437.
Yeah.
And they did a straight, direct line paternal link to Saint Remy, who was a bishop who lived in 437. You're French. Yeah. So
That just brings it even more to light that what I always tell people is take those blinders off and take the assumptions away. Take the curiosity. Yes, you're curious, but that doesn't solve a research problem, or that doesn't solve, or staying away from DNA. Take those blinders off and see. He was just totally down this one, tunnel, and look what opened up to him. I want it if he doesn't.
Well, I know a lot of people experience that as professional genealogists when they're working with clients. It's very hard not to offend people. They're convinced this is going to be the way my family is. I'm convinced that, we were Mayflower descendants or whatever it is. And, it's part of the education that we all need to do is, you have those family stories. There may be, that much truth to it. And, just open yourself up to the possibilities of what we may find along the way.
Right. And, talking about family stories being passed down, the Italian story was very interesting because it all started with a family crest or a family coat of arms that was passed down. And she wanted to know if they had any connection to this family crest. And, of course, she was Italian, so Mary took care of that one. And it was our road trip for the episode, which was very nice. And she went to Italy, and we got to see what it was like to research in parish records and court records in Italy, which I think was nice to be able to see something outside of the United States.
Yes.
Now, unfortunately, Kim and I enjoy studying and researching heraldry, so we kept doing this. Through the entire opening scene and picking it apart about, well, you have to be careful because that doesn't show a baron, and luckily they pointed it out.
They got that one.
They got that one. They got that the crown, it should only have 4 pearls. It had 5. So I'm guessing that it was a marquis or a viscounty, but I'm not sure because I don't have my books with me. And then we're talking about the helm and how depending on when it was painted, it could mean different things, and because heraldry can be very
It changes over time.
That is true.
And it was different not just in different time periods, but also in different countries.
Yes.
And, heraldry in England is not the same as heraldry in France.
Or Italy.
Or Italy. So it's all a very different ballgame depending on when you're talking about and, how those coats of arms or family crests were really given, because they were not generally given to a family. They were given to a specific person for a specific deed. And they belonged to that person and not an inheritance that the family then continued with over the years. They were for that person.
I understand.
So folks who are going on about, it's our family crest, it's like, well, no, it belonged to this guy who you're descended from, but it's his.
Right. And the other thing that is interesting about heraldry and coats of arms is the UK. So, there's the Scotland has its own college, and so does England, and in the various, UK and British Isles. And they are the most strict with the rules and the regulations and the way things are inherited. And a lot of continental Europe is really lax. So I'm interested. I just actually got for Christmas a book on Sicilian heraldry and genealogy. And unfortunately, I have not been able to open it yet because I've been way too busy preparing for this and other stuff. But I want to go home now and flip through that because this family was from Sicily. And I want to see if I can find that coat of arms and see what the rules and the regulations were, because maybe there's something. I haven't really studied Italian heraldry. I know basic for continental Europe, but there could be something interesting there, because the rules were a little different. And I know in some countries they used heraldry as a way to earn money for the country.
Yes.
So you could purchase your heraldry.
Oh, I see.
At some point in time, it was the granted by the monarchs, and
Right.
you are extra cool, and therefore we will elevate you, and now
Right.
you're noble, and then those are the people who find those family histories of, hey, they made them noble, and now we know everybody from there.
Right.
But then, on the other side of it, yes, there were the points where now you've got the merchant class coming in and buying heraldry so that they can have a sign on their shop and makes them cooler.
So then my German farmers wouldn't have a crest, a family crest.
It
Or
would
coat
be
of
more
arms.
likely that if they're farmers now and some point in their past they had an ancestor who was cool and got granted arms by the monarch, that would be in their family history but belonged to the person to whom they were granted,
It's
but not theirs.
But it's not, yeah.
Right.
I have one of those German ones
Yeah.
too. I've got a
But-
little pendant somewhere
Nice.
that great grandma had
Yeah.
made.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The parchment and the paint and and the wax color crayon.
Moving on before we get in trouble. So there was another one that had all of us who were watching last night really tugging at our heartstrings a little bit and loving this son. A son wrote in, and his mother has dementia. And was she going through Alzheimer's? Is that what he said?
I don't
She had something. And she was not necessarily, she was, as he put it, as she was losing memories, he wanted to replace them with others. And her mother died in childbirth. And she never remembered her. And she's 87 years old now and knew nothing about that side of the family. So he brought her in and talked with, it was Josh, wasn't it? Yeah, it was Josh.
Yeah.
And wanting to replace those memories, to let his mother, know who her mother was and everything. And I thought it was a very interesting story because what they did was they started with her immigrant ancestor and worked up to her mother. So it was an interesting way to tell the story because usually we start with you and work backwards.
You do the research, from note backwards.
Right. But the way they presented it to her is, this was your immigrant ancestor and they was German. And it was very interesting because he fought in the Civil War and there was a pension file. And, they went on to the grandfather, found her mother. She found out for the first time she had an uncle. And then learned about she was so funny.
She was. I loved her reactions.
It was best when she found out that her mother was married before her father. And then they found the court records that showed that her mother walked out on her previous husband for her father. And she's like, I'm okay with that. That sounds great with me. But did you guys have any particular parts besides it was just really an awesome story? Anything that really spoke to you? How about you, Kim?
I thought it was really wonderful that this man would come here specifically for his mom. The way he was telling the story about how he wanted to be there and give this to his mother who did not have that information, to be able to give her this gift as she was slowly losing memories to restore them. It was just beautiful. It was beautiful.
It really was.
We really liked him. We really liked him a lot.
Yeah, and he was very sweet. To be so concerned about his mother and giving her mother back. I just, it's one of those little.
We had the hankies out.
Tears. Well, I'm a softie anyway.
Right. But there were two stories of unknown mothers or unknown parentage. There was that one, and then the last story of the evening was a woman who knew that her mother was adopted. And she wanted to know more about her parents, and she knew. But that was interesting because she knew who her mother's parents were because of a newspaper article. Because I guess there was what was the newspaper article about? There was some sort of altercation or something over the adoption or the losing of the children.
I thought there was some kind of altercation between the parents of her mother as the child.
There we go.
And there was some safety concerns there.
Right. So, yeah, so she had that. Once again, newspaper articles. You can find amazing things in it. And then they had a letter from the Catholic orphanage, which was really, I thought, remarkable.
Right.
What else did Jen, did you have anything in particular about that one? Because there was a lot of information given.
Well, what was interesting was that the mother was in an asylum. Wasn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think in that letter it had stated that the mother still wanted the child. And, so at least she knew that she was wanted even if the mother couldn't care for her.
Mm-hmm.
So I always like to hear that.
That's always nice to know, though.
Because so many people don't know why, they were given up for adoption or whatever. It's sometimes it's heartwarming to hear that, well, they did really want them, they just couldn't physically take care of them or mentally take care of them.
Right.
So, that's a difficult situation for anyone, but, to find that out and find that in the letter is pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. The other thing that I thought was really neat was they actually found footage from the orphanage in 1940 when her mother was there. And it was of the children playing on the playground and pointed out to the woman that your mother is somewhere in this picture. These were her classmates and her friends, and I just thought that was... How many people get to see a glimpse of their parents from that age, from that time. How about you, Kim? Did you find anything interesting that you thought I need to bring up? Because there was a lot of stuff there.
Well, no, I was just thinking about the family footage, and I know that was one of the things that I was doing for my family for this Christmas was taking the old family footage that we have and converting it to a digital format to bring that out to the other family members so that I can share it that way. So the fact that they had film and they showed it there, that hit close to home for me of like, yes, that's an excellent way of sharing family history. That's great.
Right. Wow. So that was the episode. And I mean, that was a lot of information for an hour. We were like, oh my God. And halfway through, but you know.
we did take some pause breaks to get the angst out.
That's
as
right.
We went through.
That's right.
So.
That's the good thing about watching it, because I usually DVR it and I can pause it and go, oh my God.
Yeah.
But we are here in Salt Lake City and sitting in the Family History Library on the 3rd floor right now, if you guys are familiar with that conference room. And we wanted to talk to you a little bit about the experience we're having, about the library, about the town. And if you are here and you're watching this video, don't forget to visit us at booth 1533. So, Valerie.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to pick on you for a minute.
Okay.
Because you actually help people prepare for their research trips.
Yes,
to
I do.
the Family History Library. So, how much work is that? Lucky you.
You don't want to know because
Oh.
you're not. No. Well, I've been coming here since 1989.
Wow.
And when my first trip was super successful, and I've put my own quote on the handouts that I would not have the success that I do had I not done the meticulous preparation. And it's been that way every year, and all the new students that I do bring, find at least one thing that, that to me is successful. So yeah, there is a preparation where you, even instead of bringing your whole bookshelves that I see that are behind you at home, you bring one, but you can bring several family names with you. And so I go through the process starting with, figuring out, well, who do I want to look up and where and what type of records. And then I explain about the Family History Library catalog, the FHLC, because that is the tool you're going to use.
Right.
And how to put together that one binder with all those families, compact, so you're not bringing your whole office from home with you. So it's a 3-month course,
Oh, wow.
but I can condense it down to 3 hours.
Or 5 minutes on the phone with me.
Or 5 minutes. That's true. 5 minutes on the phone with Shannon. You what?
But Shannon's special.
Yeah.
Well,
But
anyway.
it's doable, and she, was able to have some things to look at. So I've been here since last Thursday doing the research, and I'll have a little bit more wrap up today. But I always go home with tons, and I'm just so excited. And I'm there. I'm willing to share that handout. It's like 22 pages PDF. And so feel free to email me directly or get in touch with us and help. My website is valsroots, www.valsroots.com, and you can click on the contact button and that email will come to me.
Great.
And I'm happy to share that. And I will also give the FHL research log that you use.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah,
that's
that's
nice.
one thing I had a spreadsheet that I was using for my half day of research that I did. But I had a spreadsheet I was using, and I was filling in what I could, but it wasn't really set up for how research is here. So
Right.
it was kind of like, yeah, I'm not sure I'm capturing everything I should be capturing. So I will definitely get in touch with you.
Definitely. And with that log, it is so helpful and useful because you can take it back home, and your source citations are on there. You've already created them. They're there. You can add to it if you need to, and it works because even if you don't get to it right away, because we get back home and then life happens,
Right.
you have it all there. I logged in research from the library 2 years after I had been here, and it was as if I was just there. So,
That's
so I'm happy
fantastic.
I'd be happy to help.
That's wonderful.
Yay!
And I know you got here on Sunday, Kim,
I did.
right?
And I had done the same thing last year. Last year was my first trip out to Salt Lake City, and I came to the Family History Library and found lots of things about my German ancestors. So this year I've come back and I'm working on my Irish who are still in the U.S., so I've been on a different floor this year. but still the same deal of I put my spreadsheet together before I came and said these are the microfilms I want to go look at so I can go seek and find in my mission of searching for history. And so far I have found things that I was looking for, so that is good, and found some other things that I hadn't been looking for, which is even better.
Exactly.
Now, I have to say that I am absolutely falling in love with the view and downtown Salt Lake City. It's really beautiful, and of course, everyone's friendly, and we've been walking everywhere. But the light rail is fantastic. You should take the light rail if you come.
If I can do it, last month was my first time ever using tracks from the airport down to here, downtown. And if I can, anybody can, but it is super easy, and it's wonderful. And yes, to be here in the beautiful blue sky, sunshine, and
yes, it's abnormally warm this year.
Yeah.
So I'm wandering around without a jacket on like this. And normally in February, I hear you have parkas. So, yeah.
Yes, last February it snowed the first day I was here, and I trudged to the library for the first time in the snow. That was chilly.
Yeah. Last month it was chilly. There was a couple times where we had snow flurries, but nothing. But the pansies and the beautiful grounds that are blossoming is like
Oh, the actual flowers,
yeah,
not
there's
not
flowers?
people.
No, the peoples. The peoples, yeah.
Sorry.
And you wouldn't see that in the frozen tundra of southern Minnesota, where I'm from, that we still have snow cover there till May.
Right.
So it's going to be hard to leave here on Sunday, but I'm so excited because I've been to FGS conferences before, but this is and I know how to prepare. I've even put together a quick workshop on how to prepare to come to a conference. But this is my first time in person with Roots Tech.
Oh.
Wow.
And I'm just so excited. The Energizer Bunny is just on overload. It's on overload. The bunny looked at me like, yeah, right, sure, come on. And then to see everybody in person is just, and you're going to get that feeling when you see the live streaming.
Right. And that is the thing, if you guys are at home viewing this video, don't forget that Roots Tech does have live streaming of several of their videos. Videos. Sessions. And it is totally worth it, because that's what I've done. This is my first time at Roots Tech, but in the past, I've always sat at home and I've watched all the keynotes and I watched all of the live streaming sessions. And yes, I was live tweeting from my house during those times. But it was fun, and it was still like you were part of it, but it's nothing like being here.
Right.
Do you have anything you want to say about Salt Lake City or the Family History Library?
Well,
or
I'm
conference?
I'm really
You're special.
hyped. I'm really hyped up about the conference because this is my first national conference where I will be giving presentations.
Yay!
So I was super honored that they chose me for 3 FGS presentations and a Roots Tech presentation. So that's been like my focus for the last month and a half, is preparing for that and just, learning all I can about how to give good presentations and, just refining over and over and over. So for me, it's been an interesting experience. Not only is it my first time here in Salt Lake City and coming to the library, but it's also, I'm getting the speaker experience and, you have to go here to register for this, and, here's your tags for this, and, it's totally bizarre to me. But I feel like I'm some kind of celebrity or
That's
something.
right.
Yeah, it's
You're
kind of neat.
our personal celebrity.
It's neat. And another cool thing about it is I'll be talking to someone and they'll be like, oh, I think I'm going to go to your family heirlooms presentation, or, oh, I'm going to go to your Jewish presentation. And I'm like, wow, like they actually read my name in the syllabus and they're interested? Like, this is so cool.
And then on top of it, we have people coming up to you. I've had this happen to me. You guys have maybe had this happen, where they see your name tag and they're like, I know your name.
Yeah.
Why do I know your name? Oh, I've read that, or I've seen you do something. And it's like, oh, people know who I am. Oh no.
I better behave myself.
I better behave myself. Only act goofy in my hotel room behind closed doors.
Nah.
Good luck with that.
Yeah. Well, does anybody have any other last comments on the conference, the library, the beautiful city behind us?
Everything is just wonderful, and the people here at the library and all over, in Temple Square and all over town are super helpful. I never ever feel that you can't come here and not be safe. But it's a wonderful experience. I'm going to be starting my blog. It's official, and talk about that experience.
Oh, great!
And I've already got some stuff to start putting on that, but it's going to be nice, and we're just going to have a ball spending Valentine's Day with Donny Osmond.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Sorry,
I'm sorry, I had to bring that up.
I'm too young for Donnie. I don't understand. But my roommate, who is behind the camera, and the people next to me have been talking about Donny Osmond.
Yes. Oh,
Yes,
yes.
yes, we have.
Yes.
How about you, Kim? Do you have anything else you want to add besides Donnie?
Sorry, Terry. Well, I came back. Last year was my first Roots Tech, so the fact that I came back's got to be a good sign, right?
That's right.
And so far it's been fun, because one of the things that I've enjoyed about the conferences here is that people that you see out on social media, Twitter, blogs, Facebook, all over the place, you get to actually meet them in person. If you can figure out who they are, because they're not all wearing the big tag that says, this is my Twitter handle and this is my Facebook page. I'm like, oh, you're so-and-so. So they're not doing that. But, we try. But it's great to be able to connect with those people in person, as opposed to just having them be letters on a screen far away.
Right.
What
Exactly.
what have you
For
thought
sure.
of the Innovator Summit so far? I know it's only been a half a day, but we were both at the opening session, and then we actually sat together for the last two sessions and lunch and everything. So.
Yeah, so I attended the Innovator Summit last year as well, because professionally I'm a software developer, so I find, tech stuff cool. So to me, going to the Innovator Summit to just listen to the ideas about software challenges and new ideas in the software horizons for applying to something that I really enjoy, my genealogy hobby, is an excellent, way to bridge those two worlds. So I find it very entertaining as well as informative.
That's right.
Well, I found the presentations done by the finalists for the Innovator Challenge very interesting, and it's interesting to see kind of the direction that a lot of these startup businesses are going. There's very much a focus on the stories, which we saw last year, but there's also a kind of a different focus sometimes with. I spoke with some guys who are from Legacy Stories, and they're actually trying to partner with retirement homes and facilities like that to encourage their staff to actually record interviews with their residents and build up that family history for the family, even if they're not able to do it themselves. So it's pretty cool, just the different ideas that are coming around.
Well, thanks for telling us all about that, because I know I didn't get to go to the Innovator Summit.
Yeah.
I was setting up a booth.
Well, and I greatly appreciate that.
I'm totally
I felt bad that
teasing.
you guys went and set the whole thing up without me.
We had nothing else to do.
Okay.
It's okay. It was very easy. I was happy to get it done, so I don't have to worry about it.
Yes.
But it looks like our time today is up. We wanted to we've gone over our normal length, but we had a lot of Roots Tech stuff to talk about. So
It was a special.
that's right,
special
it's a
occasion.
special occasion. And I wanted to thank you ladies for joining us. I really appreciate it, Valerie and Kim. And hopefully you'll be back when we were at home doing it on Google Hangouts.
We definitely will. Thank you for having us.
Copious free time.
In Google's free time, that's right.
Get me some for Christmas.
Yeah.
So remember that we love hearing from you. So drop us a line in the comments below, visit our Facebook page, or like us on Twitter. Send us an email at editor@theinDepthGenealogist.com. And on that note, have a great day, and remember to go in depth with all of your ancestors. Bye.